Stand by.
All right, welcome to News 6 Extra. I'm Christopher Heath. It is Friday, October the 10th. We have made it to the end of the week. Well, the work week, that is. The weather outside, at least here, is very sunny. It looks nice. Kath Lee, I got to tell you, it was a bit of a slog this week to get through it, but we made it. We're to Friday. Got a
We
bit of
did
a
make
cold
it.
front rolling its way through. It's going to be nice. So I'm excited. How about you?
I am excited. I just want to spend time outdoors this weekend to, first little bit of fall.
Yes, yeah, a little crisp in the air. I guess as crisp as things can be. I'm
Right.
watching this cart from the Cheesecake Factory just came rolling through. We may have to
Oh,
cut News 6 Extra short today if there's cheesecake available.
that is
All right,
that
everyone,
is
thanks for
true.
watching. We'll be back here on Monday.
I'm with you. Yes, I haven't seen the cart yet, but
That's right
yes.
over there. So, all right. Let's bring in the third member of the crew today, Michelle Morgan. We'll be seeing quite a bit of Michelle today. We will see, obviously, what we're seeing her now and later for the six things.
Yep.
While she's doing her weather, I'm going to go investigate that cheesecake. Normally, I try and do a little bit of witty banter and get everything set up, but there's a cheesed cake calling my name, I suspect. So, all right, Michelle, the weather has, at least here where we're at in Orlando, it's great. Looks beautiful outside.
Yeah.
I know we've got a lot of flooding concerns up and down the coast, and we're going to be obviously eyeballing that. But on the backside of
Yes.
it, things look fairly nice this weekend.
Yeah, so we have to deal with the flooding risks as we go through today and also tomorrow morning. And then we have that fall feeling heading our way as we go through the rest of our Saturday into Sunday. And if you get the chance to check out my 6 things to do, a lot of those events are outdoors and the weather is going to be fantastic for them. So pretty excited about that. But let's go ahead and get right into it. I want to start you off with the latest radar scan. So we've been tracking heavy rain really confined along our coastline because of the heavy rainfall, and we have a bit of training that's going on. That just means heavy downpours. They're not moving much. They're just sitting over a location, and the rainfall is just picking up very quickly. Then on top of that, we're looking at those strong northerly winds, easterly winds. We have the high tides and all of that water continuing to push up along our coastline and then into our rivers and streams. So all of these components are causing flooding concerns. So tracking heavy rain over parts of Volusia, Brevard County this morning, and we're going to continue to see this type of setup as we go through majority of today. On and off heavy rain. You may hear a few claps of thunder, and you can see those green polygons. Those are indications of advisories and also this darker green flood warnings. So a lot of rain falling in a very short amount of time. Over the metro area, we are free for now, but as we go through the afternoon hours, we'll see these showers begin to seep in over our central region. So just make sure you have that rain gear nearby. So let's go ahead and talk about the flooding concerns here and our coastal concerns. As Chris just mentioned, we have a coastal flooding warnings, advisories that are issued, which will expire as we head into the weekend. We're looking at that saltwater flooding because of the king tides and those strong winds. Some spots are seeing wind gusts of 30, 35 miles per hour. Last checked, I looked at the beach cameras and there's barely a beach because that's how high the water is. And then we're looking at that freshwater flooding where rounds of heavy rain, which is what we're seeing right now, will continue through much of today. Now, we'll see some breaks from the heavy rain, but because of how heavy it is and it's not moving much, we're going to see accumulations again pack up pretty quickly as we go through your Friday heading into your Saturday morning. Now, talking about the winds and the wind gust here, you can see it's pretty gusty, really confined along our coastline, 29 miles per hour in Titusville, 17 miles per hour in New Smyrna Beach, 27 miles per hour in Cape Canaveral. And as we look at our inland spots, 21 miles per hour in Leesburg and Claremont. Now, when the rain is all said and done, it is still going to stay breezy as we head into the weekend and much of next week. The wave heights, because of the strong winds along our coastline, we're looking at between 5 to 7 feet. So large breaking waves. We're looking also at a strong rip current rate, high risk for that. And that'll continue at least through Sunday into our Monday. Now, as we take a look at the current tide times here, we already saw our high tide out in Daytona Beach about an hour and a half ago. The water will begin to recede just a bit, but because of the heavy rain and those strong northeasterly winds, it's going to continue to push up that water. And then later on tonight, we'll see our next high tide closer to midnight. Cocoa Beach, we're looking at that low tide later on this afternoon. High tide also around 11 o'clock p.m. And then Flagler Beach, high tide for you all will be later on this evening, closer to the 6 o'clock hour. So nonetheless, a lot of water is getting pushed up along our shoreline. So beach erosion, road closures, especially closer to the coast, are expected to close down. And we always tell you, turn around, don't drown, especially when you run into a flooded highway, or not even highway, road, because you just can't tell how deep the water is. So the coastal flood warning here, this is through Sunday morning, where during high tide, a half of an inch to an inch higher than this week. And as I mentioned before, significant beach erosion is expected, and which is happening right now because you can barely see a beach. The flood watch goes into or stays into effect through tonight for all of those counties there highlighted in green. So really along our coastal areas today, we are calling it a weather alert day because we need you all to stay alert on what's happening across the region, because flooding is certainly a concern in those highlighted areas. Now, that was my Daytona Beach camera. It's not popping up right now, but I will tell you, you can barely see a beach. Planning forecast, things stay pretty comfortable across the metro area in the middle to upper 80s as we go through the afternoon hours, cooling into the lower 70s later on tonight. And then we're looking at your forecast highs below average in the 80s here across central Florida, upper 70s along our coastline with a 60 to 70% coverage for rain. Clouds and rain forecast continues to show scattered showers and downpours streaming across the area as we go through the afternoon. A few breaks here and there. Heavy rain possible around 4 or 5 o'clock over Brevard County. And then heading into tonight, we see a bit of a break from the rain. Most of the shower and storm activity staying offshore. And then heading into, I would say around 10, 11, a few spotty showers possible around Flagler County. And then a few scattered showers and storms possible early tomorrow morning, which I will be tracking during the morning news. Rainfall forecast showing 2 to 3 inches along our coastline, along the I-95 corridor, across the metro area between 1 to 2 inches, and then way west, closer to the I-75 corridor, less than a quarter of an inch. Now let's go ahead and talk about that dry air moving in when that rain is out of here due to that tropical low, which will continue to move northeasterly or northeast. You see all of that tannish color moving in, that's dry air. So that's going to bring down our humidity significantly as we head into next week. So if you're looking for the fall weather, it is on its way. So we're going to see those dew point temperatures in the upper 60s on Sunday. And also look at this, lower 60s Monday, Tuesday. So it is going to feel fantastic when everything is said and done. Now the tropics still tracking 2 storms. We have Jerry and Karen out there. Not a concern for us. Looks like they will remain fish storms, which is great news. And there are no tropical threats to central Florida. So I'll leave you here with your 7-day forecast. A 60% chance for scattered rain and some downpours, really confined along our coastline. And 83 degrees tomorrow with a 20 to 30% coverage during the morning hours. We'll see abundant sunshine as we go through the rest of the morning into the afternoon hours. And then after that, we are scot-free. It's going to be gorgeous on Sunday, low humidity, and then the low humidity sticking around as we head into the rest of the work week.
You know, I'm scheduled this weekend, Sunday morning, to run the You Can Finish. It's a 2-mile and then a 5-mile out at UCF. We actually run right past my classroom, which is nice. And this is going to be, hands down, the best weather we've had for this event since I've been running it. I mean, we've had some weather in the 70s, like high 70s and humid. This is going to be it's going to be high 60s, but I'll take it. This is good.
Oh yeah, 60s is going to be gorgeous, especially for that early run, and then low humidity. Hello, it's going to feel great.
I may even wear some shorter shorts than the one I was planning. Really show some
All
leg
right, well,
out there.
You do what you need to do.
Nobody wants to see that. Oh, no. Do we have 7-inch running shorts? No, get some 9-inch running shorts. Those maybe. You know what? Just full suit. That'll work.
Well, at least you won't be sweating profusely. You'll get a good breeze. It'll be breezy, low humidity, so it'll be nice.
I'm looking forward. This is going to be good. I am excited about this one. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing the 6 things to do later on in the newscast. But thank you, Michelle.
No problem.
All right. Well, as Michelle mentioned, up and down our coast, whether we're talking Volusia County or Brevard County, there's some places there that, are historically we get flooding coming in, but with what we've seen over the last 24, 48 hours, it's really exacerbated some of these areas. We talk about like the St. Johns River and places like Astor that, chronically deal with flooding issues just because of the way Florida, at least Central Florida, is laid out. And as Mark Lehman explains in Brevard County, there's certain concerns that they're keeping an eye on right now as these storms make their way across the coast.
Here in Brevard County, the recent conditions have led to worries about flooding all along the Space Coast. In this community, for instance, the wind and tide has pushed water into the street. It's a foot deep in some spots. Other communities, meanwhile, are having problems because of the amount of rain that's fallen in the last 24 hours. It was a downpour this morning in Cape Canaveral Mobile Estates. The heavy rain coming hours after much of the low-lying neighborhood took on water last night.
Both roads were totally flooded. Going back into the homes over on this side, the water was just pouring in from all directions.
Bill Skinner is the property manager and says they were only able to push the water out after repairing a pump overnight. I mean, that's your lifeline here, right?
Yeah. Without that, last night there would have been a lot more damage with houses.
I mean, if it comes out much more, then, there's going to be more problems.
Over near Titusville, the Oak Point retirement community has also been dealing with flooding. A combination of winds and tides caused the Indian River to overflow and spill into the neighborhood.
What we've had for the last several days is, as bad as it's been without there being a hurricane coming.
All of this is happening as Brevard County is under a coastal flood warning, and as conditions are expected to persist for the next couple days, those back in Cape Canaveral are waiting on the city for a long-term solution.
They put in for the funds for a pump for the canal, and they're supposed to hear back this month, so we're praying.
In Brevard County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
One of the other things we're keeping an eye on right now is an update that we will get from Sheriff John Mina here in Orange County in about 18 minutes. We have a crew actually over at the sheriff's office for this press conference. It's scheduled for 1 o'clock. If you were watching News 6 yesterday at 4 and 5 o'clock, you saw we brought you as breaking news this scene right here. This is over by Oak Ridge High School. 2 teens allegedly got into a fight at a basketball court near the school, not at the school, but near the school. One of the teens pulled out a gun and shot at the other. The teen who was shot was rushed to the hospital. He later died. The sheriff is going to give us an update on this. Of course, we're going to bring this to you as it happens, both on clickorlando.com. We'll also have it here on the YouTube channel if that's how you're watching us today. But definitely an update to what was a very scary situation yesterday, so near to a high school at a time when a lot of those kids were getting out of high school. From Orange County up to Marion County. This is kind of a weird story, interesting story. A man who was involved in a stabbing death in Kentucky, and he was eventually found not guilty by reason of insanity for the stabbing, but he was found guilty on other charges, sentenced to 20 years, ends up serving 10, and is paroled. After he's paroled, he moves to Florida and ends up living in Marion County. For the reasons that people were wondering, well, hold on, sentenced to 20, but he only served 10. Why was he out so early? All of these things. Very interesting story there, but then trying to find out, well, what's going on with him in Florida. And as Stephanie Rodriguez reports, deputies up in Marion County actually just arrested this man, saying that as a convicted felon, he was supposed to register when he arrived, and he failed to do so. Here's her report.
Marion County deputies arrested Ronald Exantis on Wednesday at the home he had moved into after being released from prison in Kentucky. The 42-year-old served less than half of his 20-year sentence for attacking a little boy and his family in 2015, killing the boy and injuring his father and 2 sisters. While he was convicted of assault, Exantis was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder. This case caught the eye of the Trump administration, with the White House press secretary posting on social media that it's, quote, wholly unacceptable that Exantis was able to walk free after just several years in prison.
I can speak for we, the people here in Florida, do not want this type of person out on our streets. around our children.
Lieutenant Paul Bloom explained that Exantis checked in with Marion County Corrections on Monday, but didn't register as a felon.
He was told by the Department of Corrections, they're given a form. It's printed out in whatever language you speak, and he is given that and was told you have 48 hours to register at the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
Lieutenant Bloom says that most disturbing of all, Exantis was living at a home near a school.
When I say immediately next to it, there is a fence between his house and the elementary school, and that was it. So for us, it was a priority.
According to Bloom, Exantis was living with family in the home, and while deputies had no reason to believe he was planning anything, he broke the law by failing to register, and now they want to see him extradited to Kentucky.
Our hope is that this person is back behind bars, stays behind bars, and that in the end, common sense rules out, the will of the people rules out, and he does not get to see the light of day, not in this state and even in Kentucky.
Failing to register as a felon here in Florida is a misdemeanor offense, but Lieutenant Bloom said it's also likely a parole violation, which could send Exantis back to prison. In Marion County, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
We'll have to see what happens with this case. Obviously, we'll stay on top of it if he is extradited back to Kentucky for parole violation, see what happens there. All right, stay with us. When we return, we will be talking about, obviously, Michelle's wonderful 6 things to do this weekend, as well as some movie tips. That's ahead. All right, welcome back to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. Again, it is Friday, October the 10th. All right, so what's old is new again, at least when it comes to the movies that are, hitting the big screen, so-called retro movies. You've probably seen this if you've been to the theater in the last few months, and that is movies that were out maybe when you were a kid or maybe a couple of years ago, suddenly back on the big screen. And I got to tell you, you can watch it at home. But when you watch it at home, you get the distractions of, the dog comes in the room and needs to go out. The kids want something, the phone rings, whatever. When you go to see a movie in the movie theater, you're sitting in the dark theater, you get the popcorn, extra salty, and you just focus on it. It's nice. And so this is kind of, retro movies making a bit of a comeback. Gwen Bumgarner has the story.
The lines are unforgettable.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
The characters iconic.
I am Dorothy.
More and more Hollywood classics are getting a second act.
I'll be back.
The old box office hits are returning to theaters in a new bid to sell more seats.
This is a big shift this year.
J.D. Connor is a cinema professor at USC.
Movie theaters are trying everything. Discount Wednesdays, the loyalty programs, all these things seem to be moving the needle, but the revival screenings where they can guarantee a pretty full house, that seems to be working a lot.
Hollywood's TCL Chinese Theater is showing Apollo 13, marking its 30th anniversary. Jim came for the matinee.
I'm retired now, so I can go whenever I want.
Avatar and Toy Story are back on nearby screens, and not just for the sake of nostalgia.
Houston, we have a problem.
Movie theaters are struggling to find content.
Runtimes have drastically shortened.
AMC CEO Adam Aron says a typical new release used to run in theaters about 74 days. Post-pandemic, that shrunk to about 45. And if the studio sees a flop, they might pull it after just 17 days. That leaves a pretty wide opening for new audiences to see the greats gathering dust on the shelf in their big screen glory.
The experience is just totally different. Yeah. So I wish they would bring more movies back.
Bringing the classics back to the future.
You kids are going to love it.
Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Kathleen, that is, I've seen some of these movies that they're talking about here with the ones, because so I have one of my favorite movies is Apocalypse Now, and I have like the super long, like 3.5 hour director's cut. I have a decent enough, store-bought sound system at the house, but when you go watch it, like in the theater, and you have that opening where the helicopter's like going from side to side, and then you start to hear the opening chords of the Doors, This Is the End, and it's just like, so it's so amazing. You can't, I guess if you had, like if one of us had won the lottery a couple of weeks ago, maybe you can build that home theater, but nothing is going to rival what you have at the actual theater.
Oh, no. And, a lot of those movies came out when, we weren't around, so we couldn't see them on the big screen. And so now that they come, they're bringing them back, you can experience it on the big screen. So I like this idea.
I do too. And I also too, one of the things they mentioned where there was the time of movies being out actually in the theaters, that was the thing back in the day is, if you missed it in the theater, you might not see it. And then all of a sudden, VHS rental places popped up, but there was a lag, like a movie would come out and then it would be weeks or months. And then all of a sudden it would be released on VHS or on, later on DVD. But you kind of had to wait for it. Now, like it's in the theater and then you blink and now it's like, oh, it's also, HBO Max has it or right. Netflix has it. And it's like, well, you start to make those calculations of, do we really want to go see it in the theater, or maybe we'll just wait 2-3 weeks and watch it on streaming?
Right. And it is. It's a matter of weeks now. Sometimes not even a month and they're already streaming. So, maybe this is a way for theaters that are struggling to get some boost in ticket sales, because like that Apollo 13, I love that movie. And I remember seeing it in the theaters and I would go back and see it again.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the other things is that, when you think about like the movies that lend themselves well to the theater, these are great artistic films, the films that have, that are really well shot and great score, and, the theater adds to it. Whereas something like Hot Tub Time Machine, it's going to look the same at your house as it's going to look at the theater. You're not gaining anything by having, right. that on the big screen. And not to besmirch Hot Tub Time Machine, John Cusack's finest film, possibly ever. But yes, that's not a film that needs to necessarily be up there on the silver screen.
No. I mean, that one you can pass on. You're right. It's going to be the same at home.
One of the other things I like that they've started doing is the concerts, because I know with Taylor Swift, she put part of her concert on a movie that you could go see, and it was kind of, it's not like being at the concert, but it's as close as you're going to get if you're not actually going. Metallica's done the same thing. I think that's, again, finding new ways to use these theaters and enjoy that experience.
Right.
There's something to be said for that.
No, I love the idea. When I saw the story, I said, you know what, that's really neat. And hopefully it works out for him.
Yes. And the Roy Schreiber there where he's like, you're going to need a bigger boat. Man goes into the cage. Cage goes into the water. Shark is in the water. Our shark. All right. 6 things to do. We've talked about it all newscast here. Meteorologist Michelle Morgan has the 6 things you're going to want to try and do this weekend. Take a look.
I'm meteorologist Michelle Morgan. Looking for something fun to do this weekend? The 51st annual Mount Dora Bicycle Festival, a great family event that will be happening, and you don't need a fancy bike to ride.
You can take anything that's got two wheels pretty much and brakes and enjoy a 10-mile to a 70-mile course. A lot of people come from even out of state just to come to Mount Dora for the weekend and just reconnect with their friends and family and enjoy a really, really nice recreational day.
The registration fee is $90 and it runs all weekend. The Autumn Art Festival kicks off this weekend in Winter Park at Central Park, running from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a free event where you can enjoy beautiful works of art, live music, family-friendly fun, and a special featured artist, Holly Austin, Matt's mom, and she'll have her artwork on display. The Orlando Latino Fest is Saturday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Luminary Green Park. Live Latin music and dance, authentic food, and vendors. It's free and a few isolated showers are possible. The Zoo Boo Bash kicks off this weekend at Central Florida Zoo from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Wear your Halloween costumes, trick-or-treat through the not-so-scary zoo, and enjoy games and candy. It runs every weekend through October. The not-so-spooky Hollow Fest takes place at the center of Deltona on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This free event features local vendors, fall-themed crafts, face painting, and plenty of Halloween fun. Costumes are encouraged. The 16th annual Dia de los Muertos Monster Party runs outside of City Arts Orlando. Celebrate the Mexican holiday with a Dia de los Muertos themed art exhibition, spooky art vendors, unique shops, delicious food, and live entertainment. It starts at 6 p.m. Those are your 6 things to do, and if you have a fun event happening in your town this weekend, send it my way. I've been getting so many fun events from viewers like you. Head over to clickorlando.com or use 6 app, just click contact us.
My favorite story. That looks fun. The Dia de los Muertos, we used to go to some of those when I was living in San Antonio, which is
yes,
it's always very festive, always a good time, and really kind of exposes another layer of, we always kind of think of Halloween as being this one thing, but then when you go to one of these Day of the Dead celebrations, you realize that there's more to kind of wrestling with death and everything else. So it looks like good, and the Boo at the Zoo is always a crowd pleaser.
Oh, yeah. I think anything outdoors this weekend is going to be pretty good.
I already mentioned my big outdoor event. I will be heading to the University of Central Florida. Go Knights, charge on for it's the U can finish U like the letter U can finish UCF. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you do this every year?
Every year, it's an event through Track Shack, and so that you can do one or the other or both. You can do there's a 2 mile or there's a 5 mile, or you can do both. You can run the 2 mile and then the 5 mile. And so I always sign up, but they call it the challenge, and you do so you run the 2. The 2 is just kind of almost like a little sprint to get that done, and then the 5 goes kind of you run it kind of on the outside, go by the stadium, by the baseball and softball fields, then eventually start to wind your way through campus, and it's just fun, and it's always a good time out there.
Yeah. Wow, I couldn't do the. I don't think I could do the 2 mile, let alone the 2 and the 5 mile.
It's a fun event, and it's always well attended. And as much as I complain about the horrible parking situation at the university, it's not so bad when it's just a running event and there's no students there, because there's plenty of parking. So
true.
Well,
good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will. I'll be back on Monday with my medals from the event. I get 3 for this one. I get 1 for the 5, 1 for the 2, and 1 for the challenge. So I will have all of I'll add them to my collection at the house. So anything big on the radar for you?
No, I'm just mainly gonna just get caught up on some stuff. Nothing big, nothing fancy this weekend.
Take the dog to the Boo at the Zoo. A little costume.
She has plenty of costumes, so maybe I could do something fun with her this weekend.
All righty. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the outdoor weather. Thank you, as always, for putting this wonderful show together. And thank you to Michelle for both the 6 things and for the forecast. And thank you for watching. Of Of course, we break news all the time on clickorlando.com, and we'll be on the air starting today at 4 o'clock for News 6. And we will have coming up here in a couple of minutes streaming as well the press conference from Orange County Sheriff John Mina on the shooting near Oak Ridge High School from Thursday. So we'll have that coming up for you, as well as Mike DeForest is working on a big story, which you'll have to wait till Monday for that one. A little teaser there for you. All right, have a fantastic rest of your Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday.